All right, hello and welcome to the Bean Talking podcast. This is a show where we talk to somebody who has done something that is undeniably the best. And episode 10 is no different with Hayden Wilson. He's a guy that really understands social media for fitness professionals, and it's led him to creating Australia's largest annual multi-speaker event for personal trainers to learn about business success, being the Fitness Business Summit in Australia. We had some really cool stuff to talk about here, so I'm excited for you guys to listen to it, so let's go. Hayden, thank you so much. 10th guy on the Bean Talking podcast. Personally, just want to thank you for getting me to the double digits. Awesome stuff.
No, man, you're very welcome. We're just talking off air for a couple of seconds, Tim, and thank you for having me. It's amazing to that we can connect like this. I think that podcasting, as we'll talk about in the episode, it's just one of the kings of all mediums. And a lot of people saying, it's too late to get a podcast, but one, you connect with amazing people, and two, it's no longer about, I'm much more focused on quality and creating genuine connections, as cliche as that sounds, as opposed to quantity. But I just know what it's done for me, and 10 episodes in now, that's 10 more connections you've made, and that's just the base effect. Imagine now if 10 or 100 or 1,000 people listen to each of those, the flow-on effect is massive. So thank you for inviting me on and allowing me to share, hopefully, part of my story and go from there.
Well, that's it. So my sum up of you is a guy you love to read books. You're a copywriter.
I like to read a bit.
You're a copywriter. You have an in-depth understanding of the fitness industry and how to really separate yourself from the noise, I suppose. And you've coached a lot of people there. But for people who haven't come across you, what would your summary of yourself be?
I know that's such an interesting question, and I heard Derek Sivers on a podcast with Tim Ferriss actually say, "Ooh, my big moment. What am I going to say?" And it's one of those moments that I think that anyone who is creating a career for themselves, which both you and I are, it's always a difficult question to ask. I do a lot of things. I've written a book. I've coached a lot of different people. I do copywriting and help people make more sales. I, get to spend a lot of time doing the things that I love. I'm in a pretty fortunate position. So to sort of tie it down to one thing, I think the main thing, in quote marks, is what I would call a business counselor. So you've got business coaching, which is basically, do this and that's the system and do it this way or it's not going to work for you. You've got a counselor who says, they mold things for your personal situation, generally emotional type issues. And what I like to do is try to mix those two, so you kind of got that intersection of professional development with personal development. So knowing what your business is, but not going from that approach of this is the only system, but really getting to know the person and coaching the person and going, okay, what does this person actually need if they want to grow their business? And it's not cool, they want to scale and all those crazy buzzwords. It's cool, what do you want? What does an ideal picture look like for you? Do you want to have 10 clients and charge them each $20,000 per year? In every quarter, it's $5,000 deposits or $5,000 increments. Let's do that. Let's build that for you. But let's find out. I call it, find your freedom. It's about finding what freedom looks like for you, so you can ultimately live a deliberate life. And so, in a wrap-up way, if you want to live a deliberate life, then these, I can show you the steps required to be able to go out there and actually do them. Because there is, Tim, you see all these different people that are saying, my revolutionary system, and I'm just one of those people, like, how many more revolutions can we have? It just seems like, to me, it's just a method. It's just a way, and it's their way, and it might work. But the realities are, no one way is going to work for everyone. And I think that's where anyone listening can separate themselves from any of that noise. Is find out your way, and just back yourself in.
Definitely. You touched on something there quite interesting, the personal development side of things and running a business. I think I've seen you say that they can't be separate. The levels of personal development that a person goes through when they start a business is actually quite high, and they're almost interrelated. Even if you're in a sales role as well, personal development comes in there too. But how important do you think it is from your point of view to grow those separately as a person?
Yeah. It's spot on. You can't separate the two, because as you grow, you are forced. I mean, if you look at anyone doing a gym challenge or transformation or anything in the physical realm, the power, you have the outer transformation. If you've done any research into storytelling, you've got the outer transformation, which is where, the person actually gets the goal, the achievement. But then you've got the inner transformation, the inner journey that happens during that process. And so while at the start of lifting a barbell, you might deadlift, 60 kilos and you've got bad form, and you train over the next 12 weeks with a professional, and then after 12 weeks, you've got really great form, you can pick up, 100 kilos. Yeah. The thing is, that's great, that's an achievement. However, what you've learned in that process is resilience and consistency and courage to actually pick up the bar, and strength, and actually doing the work even when you don't want to. And you learn all these different skills and then apply it to different things. That is all really personal development is. The way that I really like to do it is through exercises of the mind. I like to read different books. I like to work out. I like to have cold shower in the mornings. I have all these different rituals and routines that work for me, that personally develop me. But again, I guess it comes down to that whole, finding a system that works for you. And so it is about finding the system that most resonates with you, whether it's books or whether it's, hitting a heavy bag inside the gym, or if it's, building out your own company. It's every step of the way, you're going to learn these different lessons. And that's where the transformation actually happens. At any point in time, you're always transforming. I remember I had a really good friend, JP de Villiers, and he lives at the time, he lived in Ireland and now in the UK. And, he's a very popular public speaker. And there was companies over in Australia that were asking him for ages to come over and speak with their company. And I started to build a relationship with JP after he came on my podcast. And he actually traveled 15,000 kilometers to come and speak to my crew.
Oh, wow.
Because I asked him, and two, I positioned it in a way where it was an opportunity for him. And one of the things that I'll never forget that JP told me was, because it was the second, he actually traveled twice. It was the second time in about 8 months that he came over for it on the way to Thailand, right? And I remember he said this one thing to me. He said, "Yeah, it's amazing. It won't matter if there's some similar people in the room, because the person I was 8 months ago is not the person I am today." And it's just so important that when you do want to step up, when you do want to grow, when you do want to develop yourself, develop whatever realm, if you want more money, if you want more, freedom inside of your life, if you want a better relationship, if you want a better body, all of that is going to require a level of personal development. And it sounds counterintuitive, but in order to be the new you, you have to let go of the old you. The person you are right now, the person listening, watching, whatever form, reading it in this interview, the person you are right now and the goals that you want to hit, it's not possible to hit them as you are right now. However, if you read a book, if you listen to a podcast like this, if you go and grab yourself a mentor, if you push yourself outside of your comfort zone, these are the things that are going to start to propel you to go out there and actually transform and have that inner transformational journey to go and do it. And so, if you want to put it into, a sentence, it's less old you and more new you. And that is, in my opinion, the quickest way to build a business. Is the faster you as the founder grow, even if you're employed right now, the faster you can grow, the more opportunities are going to come about, because you're showing courage, you're showing resiliency, you're showing consistency, you're showing that, the biggest thing is if you can become a person of action and you can become someone that others can rely on, then you'll make it. And that's all you really need to know. And then just every single day, just try and move forward in a consistent manner. And that is ultimately personal development. It's not this fluffy, power of attraction or power of the universe and wait for it to happen. And personally, whatever your belief system, that's cool. I am much more of the, I like to mix action and know, hey, you know what, spirituality, I believe in and I totally get it, but it is a matter of, mixing. There's a big reason why the people who read The Power of Attraction and only follow that methodology, wait around for things to happen. Sometimes that happens. The Power Universe is great. However, when you look at people who read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, there's one of the main differentiator factors in there, and they talk about work. So you can have whatever you want. However, the work comes first. The sowing comes before the reaping. Yeah. And so it really does come down to it that you've got to do the work on yourself. And that is, hard and tricky and requires patience. And patience is never, it's a hard skill for anyone listening to this who's most likely a grower and someone seeking a better, bigger and better future for themselves. Honestly, those are the hardest ones to actually learn, patience.
Definitely. And sometimes I think we undervalue the first step and the smallest possible step that you can take. I had James Whitaker on, who he actually wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, The Legacy, which is a companion to Think and Grow Rich, really cool. But he talks about desire being the first thing. So once you've got that desire, but it's good to have that, and as you said, but then you need to take action. So do you agree with the phrase, I guess, taking the smallest step possible to get momentum and then keep on going? Like, I think that's undervalued, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, on my, depending on when someone's watching this, on my Facebook page, it has at the top says start. Yeah. And starting really is, now that's the kickoff point. That's where it all happens from. And if you don't start, it sounds super cliche, and it is, but if you don't start, nothing's going to happen for you. And so it really is looking at, okay, what is the first step that I can possibly take? And a lot of people talk about, procrastination and not getting started, and all that stuff is just fear trying to stop you. And if you want help with that, read Stephen Pressfield, Do the Work. He talks about it. It's called The Resistance. And it's just one of those things that if you really look at it, though, if you look at your life, there's been times where that resistance has showed itself, but you've broken through, and it was, you decided in your mind, hey, this pain ahead of time, this pain is going to be worth it for the end result. So if anyone's struggling with getting started, one, they're not clear on their goal and what it's going to do for them, or two, they don't really want that goal. So it's about getting super, super clear on what they actually want to achieve, and then coming back to it and go, okay, so what is that first step that they need to take? What is the action plan? I mean, Mike Tyson said it, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. However, planning is actually a crucial part of the step, because at least it gives you clarity, and at least it gives you an objective look at what needs to be happening before you go out there. Man, I used to be the king of just taking action and just, almost like running on a treadmill. I'll pride myself, and I would love to, almost have others look at me, oh my God, Hayden worked so hard. It was this badge of honor that I looked upon. And then when I really looked at myself, I go, you know what, I want to start focusing on results, not just movement, and look at progress, not just activity. And once I started doing that, that's when, and getting really objective and just looking at, okay, so what are the things, and I call them needle movers, but what are the things that are actually out there moving the needle and producing results? And anything that's not, either ask myself why and can it, or just stop doing it. But so many people are doing stuff that's not going to serve them because they think maybe that's how it's always been done, or someone's told them that's what they need to do. I'm just really big on becoming an independent thinker and questioning everything, including yourself. Like, the worst lie is the one that you believe yourself. And so you just got to be ruthless, in my opinion. Just be ruthless with yourself, with opinions of others, and that's all anything is out there is just an opinion. And it's up to you whether you want to take that on board or not, and have the strength. Don't get me wrong, mentorship is amazing and could lead you down in the right path. But if you're not careful and you're just acting as a sponge without having a filter, you'll end up taking action and wasting money and time and resources in a potentially wrong direction.
I mean, the same people can read the exact same book, and then one person a year later can be completely changed by it, and another person can just have it as another thing on their desk as a paperweight because they've gotten through it, but not applied the principle. So there's a big difference between the theory and then the practice of actually doing things. And I've seen that through university, through even full-time work as well, is the moment you actually start putting things into practice, that's when the theory makes sense. So yeah, definitely agree with that. That's very cool. Something I noticed about you whilst I was looking at your website, and even we've been talking for probably a month now, is and I think it's something Australians have naturally, but you're quite an approachable guy, but you don't have an ego about you, and you mentioned on your website that you were just an average guy, and you started from very humble beginnings, and it was at 25 where, funnily enough, I turned 25 a couple of days ago. So that really was a good sort of incident for me. But what happened? You were just going through life at this, I started here and then there was a flick, there was a switch. Tell us a bit about that. I'd really be interested.
Yeah, so basically, honestly, man, I was just still a regular person. Now I just have a lot more ambition. I've sort of unlocked that ambition that anyone can do. And so basically, I was just living my life. I had a full-time job. I liked my job. And, I was just cruising along. And I started to, at the time, I was building websites for a gym. And they had a couple of different brands. And I do their online social media. And I was just cruising along. And, one of my friends said, hey, can you build us a website? And I'm like, no, I don't, I work for my company. And he goes, well, I'll pay you $500. And I started thinking, you know what, I guess it would be kind of cool to have $500 extra dollars. I've got the skill set, I can do it. And so I spent all weekend, right? I was building this website. I was in the zone. And basically what happened was on the Monday when he's like, okay, because I said, when do you need it by? And he's like, oh, just whenever. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm 14-hour days, both days, just everything I could possibly do. And this is WordPress website. For some reason, I was changing code. I was doing all this stuff.
WordPress and website building.
No, this was WordPress. I don't know why I got in this zone where I was like, I'm going to change everything and make it my own design. And so I spent these 14 hours on Saturday and Sunday, and then Monday morning is you're going to show me, and it was completely different template. And he goes, this isn't what I asked for. And I'm but this looks better. He goes, this isn't what I asked for. So he goes, revert back to it, keep the content, but go back to what it was, and I'll pay you how long it would take you. I said how long it took me, and then he paid me the money. But it was a great learning lesson to listen to the client's instructions. But more importantly, it was a really great lesson to start getting a second income coming in. And then I thought, this is kind of cool. And that night, I was listening to a Napoleon Hill. For some reason, it just came up on my sidebar. This black and white video. This Napoleon Hill talks about the secrets of success. And, I've been on the internet and I've seen all these hyperbole, over the top, make your pockets burst with cash things. And I was like, well, that's not really me. And I don't really resonate with that. But for some reason, Napoleon Hill's Secrets to Success, or whatever the video was called, and this guy starts talking, and is recorded in 1940s or 1930s. And he's talking about desire and belief and getting out there and achieving what you want to do and burning desire. And I thought, wow, this is actually kind of cool. Now, and exactly what you're saying before, Tim, two different people read the same book. Maybe that video had come up in my life somewhere, but I wasn't ready for it. But at this point in time, I watched it and I go, a whole new world opened up to me. And I'm like, man, this is how I need to think. I need to start thinking about, how do I grow this? What is my chief aim? How do I get people? How do I start influencing people? And I started listening to these audiobooks. I remember I was always just listening to, music when I was in the gym and whatnot. And I started listening to audiobooks everywhere I could. Literally, I would make up jobs around the house just so I could listen to more audiobooks. I'd go for a drive in the car, audiobooks, dog walk, audiobooks. And so I started listening to audiobooks. Then I got into podcasting and I started listening to podcasting, and something clicked in me and I was like, these guys I just don't think they're that much different to me. They've just literally got a podcast. They're just talking and asking questions. And I love asking questions. I'm probably one of the most curious people in existence that I know of. And so I thought, I could do this. I could just ask people questions. That would be easy. So even though I was nervous, and going back to the whole thing about, if your goal, if you don't know the clear outcome, or if you're not willing to put in the work and pay the price for that, then it's probably not that important to you. But for some reason, this was important to me. I thought, you know what, I'm nervous. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know who my guests are. I had the whole script written out. Man, I was sweating before my first episode.
Yeah.
Had the whole 12 episode planned out. And then, you know what, I was able to secure a really good guest named Nick Mitchell for my first guest, who rarely does interviews, but that's that power of the universe actually coming in. Got a really great guest. I put myself in the way of opportunity for there. And you know what, from there, I was able to really start to grow influence, and started to see, wow, I put in effort and I get result. And it really was repeating that and be like, wow, who else could I get? It's just amazing. I just thought it was amazing that I could get this person across the other side of the world to go, yeah, I'll spend 45 minutes with you and you can ask me basically whatever you want, and then you can put it up and other people can learn from it. And then from there, it just snowballed as far as getting different guests on, learning about them. I started reading different books. I started to just immerse myself in personal development and, all that. For me, there's all that great stuff around how you can maximize you and how you can get the most from yourself. And that really did just kick off a whole, just lit like this crazy, what I would consider beforehand unknown fire. But then once it lit up, every book, every, mentoring session, I started attending different events, all this stuff. I just started to, it was almost just every time I do it, it was just throwing more and more fuel on what I was doing. And, like yourself, Tim, once you start, you just can't stop.
Yeah.
And so that was how it really started to take off. And now, I just can't separate the two. I just think what an amazing opportunity we have to be able to grow our greatest asset in our mind. So if that means I get to spend time with amazing people, it means if I get to pick the brains of amazing people or coach amazing people, and get to pass those gifts back on, wow, that's an opportunity. It's a privilege for me.
Oh, it's definitely something I'm noticing. Again, 10th episode. So the people that I'm catching up with, I've talked to 2 people that are living in America at the moment, and we're living in an age right now where the possibility to do that, I've bought a Zoom recorder, which is like $300. Try and buy a recorder that's that quality 10 years ago, and it would be thousands of dollars. So we live in a time now where it's really easy to create something. And as you say, similar to you, I came back from a Europe trip where I went and saw companies like Google, Samsung, Johnson & Johnson, and I'd be in the group, but consistently asking questions. So the flag kind of triggered for me. I was like, oh, why don't I just start a podcast? And, the stories you can get from it, and, even just now connecting with yourself, it's really, really awesome. But the thing outside of that is it gives you an ability to open your circle and open your eyes, and come back to the principle of the people you spend your time with being so important. A lot of personal development books say, make sure that you've got a mastermind or a group of people at least around you. Did you see yourself continuing those relationships when you were interviewing people? And then, did your mastermind expand through that process? There's 2 answers to this. Number one is podcasting is the most amazing door opener. And I've been able to create great relationships into a huge event that I run every year, into a coaching group. It's all stemmed off, honestly. If I step back, it's been through my podcast. The second thing, and this is relating probably more to the mastermind, and this is this weird, quirky thing that I do, but I actually had this concept that I call coffee with the dead. And so what I'll do is I basically have in my diary, I'll book out time inside my diary, and I sit down with a book that maybe the person's living or maybe they're dead. It's a book that I really want to read, and I'll sit down at a coffee shop or at home or wherever, and I'll literally just grab it and I'll go to the contents page, and I almost pretend like I'm having coffee with that exact person across the table from me. I say, okay, tell me what you would love to learn. They're asking me, what would you love to learn about today, Hayden? I look through the contents page and it says, how to embrace the power of thinking bigger, for example. Mm-hmm. I go, I'd love to learn that. And then literally I'll spend time, whether it's half an hour or 20 minutes, whatever it is, to read the book or the chapter. I go, wow, this is amazing. Thank you so much for teaching me. And when you start getting strict and putting in and really treating it like a meeting, I know if I was meeting one of the most famous authors or an amazing individual or a president or an ex-president or whatever it is, if I was getting to read their information and getting whatever's inside their head, and I was being able to transfer it, which is really all the book is, it's literally the best stuff in the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years of their life. Mm. If I was with that person, I'd set up, I'll be at that appointment on time. I wouldn't be sitting on my phone. I'd be there listening attentively. I would make notes on what's really important. I would review it afterwards. I would think about the points and maybe does that align with what I think, or could I argue that point? Can I see it from their point of view? And really just objectively think about it. And I think, so a lot of people, they're looking for in-person mentors that are alive, or
there's just so many different ways of mentorship. And I'm not someone that's going to go out there and say, I've been mentored by, Benjamin Franklin. However, I've had this amazing opportunity to read his books and to get some of the inside knowledge from what happened in his life and how he dealt with situations. And most importantly, you can tell they're just regular people. And going back to the whole point of, on my website where it does say, I'm just a normal person and I'm not, above average or anything, that's 100% true. But it's also true for everyone else. There's no one, I don't resonate with, the whole guru thing and expert. And I mean, that's great. And you've got a very specific skill set down one particular rabbit hole. And that's awesome. If someone has that problem and you can help them solve that, that's cool. However, to think that, that would be elevate you to a certain level above someone else, I mean, it's just not the reality. It's just you've studied in that one particular discipline, and that's awesome. However, everyone is just so, when everyone, what's the saying? Everyone puts their trousers on one leg at a time. And, there's certainly people that are smarter in certain disciplines. You've got like an Elon Musk or Richard Branson, and you got to take action, but they're also very, very intelligent. Jeff Bezos is another one. All these guys have big IQs, which is awesome. However, you don't have to go out there and, decide that you're going to send a spaceship to Mars, or that you're going to, start your own, Richard Branson's latest one is all these different cruise ships. You don't have to do that stuff. However, you can get started, and anyone can start. I mean, Tim, you're no different to me, that you just said, hey, I could do this. I could ask questions and start connecting with people, and boom, the podcast is born. Exactly the same way I did it, and exactly the same way, if you listen to anyone who has a podcast that interviews people, it would have started the same way. It's like, I guess I could do this. It wouldn't be that hard. Just work out how to do it and go ask people questions. And that's the reality is you just got to get out there and just give it a shot.
Definitely. And, Google's a thing, you can look it up. But I think you touched on an element that's actually really important there, where don't put people on a pedestal and then think, oh, I can't do it because I'll never be them. Just create your own lane and do your thing. And I really hate it when people don't start because they think, I shouldn't do it because the market's flooded, or I shouldn't do it. Well, in certain instances, I shouldn't do it because, I will never be that good. It's just a matter of, again, we'll go back and it's about starting. That's really interesting. Yeah, that you touched on there. Would love to talk about that event that you touched on, because I was reading a little bit about it, and quite impressive. You sold out pretty quickly. So tell me a bit about that, because I know it was in a fitness space where, I'll go back, it can be a little hard to break into there, but it seemed like you found something through that event.
So it was 2016, and I'd left my job in 2015, and for the next 3 months, I honestly didn't know what I was doing. I was building a couple of websites for people, but didn't feel right. And so I was talking to a mentor, and we just exchanged a few messages over Messenger. And he said, hey, normally people pay for my advice. And quite honestly, this is March 2016. I honestly had no idea that you could pay someone just to ask them questions and pick their brains. I just thought, well, you have to find out information for yourself in books or whatever. And I thought, wow, cool. So then I put my hand in my pocket and I said, you know what? Like, here's my money. Here's what they charge, and here's my money. And it was the most amount of money I've ever spent for someone's, at the time, for 1 hour of someone's time. However, I knew in that hour, it was my hour. I could ask whatever I wanted, nothing would be held back. And so basically in that hour, my mentor said, hey, have you ever thought about taking some of the guests we've had on this podcast and doing an online summit? Because at the time, these online summits were quite big. And I said, I would do that, but I'd do it in person. I think in person would be really good. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to set myself the goal of doing it in 60 days, from the idea to actually having people in a room. Give myself 60 days. And so basically, the next day, I put like 4 feelers out to 4 different people, because I was just going to have 4 speakers. It's going to be like a 4-hour event. And I thought, I'll just get my feet a little bit wet. So I had to grow a little bit. And I thought, I guess I could do an all-day thing. Put a deposit down on the venue. And I thought, maybe I could have a VIP lunch. And it sort of started to grow anyway. So I launched this thing. And I'm like, this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread. This is going to be absolutely amazing. It's going to sell out in 24 hours. And so I launch it. I'm like, everyone check it out. This is my event. Come down. Five amazing speakers. This is the best. And all I heard was crickets. And so for the first week, I had one VIP sale and one regular sale. And I was like, what's going on? Because the week before, I put up a thing on my Organic Just Facebook page and said, hey, if I got 6 of the best fitness industry professionals inside a room to teach you how to run a business, marketing, sales, all that kind of stuff, if I did that and put them in a room, would you come along to the event? It's going to be in Melbourne. And I had and this at the time, organic reach was quickly going down. And so if you didn't put money behind it, then hard to reach people. But I had 20 or 30 likes on a page that only had, I think 1,000 likes at the time. And I thought, wow, that's pretty good validation. It's pretty good. People saying yes, they'd come along. And so in my mind, I was like, yeah, this is the goer. This is going to happen. And so I put money down on the event, and I had 2 sales. I saw my friend later that week, and he goes, and I said, I don't know what to do. I put all this money down on a venue. I don't think we're going to sell it. I'll look like a massive failure, and all these things that are going through my head. And he goes, okay, well, what's your funnel? And I said, what's a funnel? I don't know what do you mean? And he just said, oh, come to my house and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So I went over to his house later that day. He's got this big whiteboard, and he goes, I'm going to give you a 2-hour crash course on funnels, follow-up sequences, emailing. And I knew a little bit about the emailing follow-up, but he was just like, here's how you do it. Here's how you structure it. Here's the psychology behind marketing and sales and advertising. And I was like, my mind was just blowing up, and he's got this whiteboard and he's saying, this is what we're going to do. I was just like, what do I do next? And he's just like, cool, here's your plan. All you need to do now is go home, rewrite this thing, and just gave me a few really big tips and hints on how to actually do this stuff. And then from there, that's when it all started to make sense. So I went home, did this stuff, and then basically put up a video of one of my speakers. And this is when Facebook video was just starting to come in, and I was getting video views for two views for 1 cent. And so basically I think I put $50 behind this one particular video, which is a really great video for promotional purposes from one of my speakers. And that sold 50 tickets, and the whole industry had never seen anything like it. Fitness industry had never seen anything like it in one particular room, not the way that I was doing it. And yeah, just really like a wildfire, really took off. And there was just this one moment where I was at the football with my mate, and I was just watching the game, and I wasn't stressed at this point, because the only stress, I just said, you know what, if I can break even, that's all, as long as I can break even, I'll be good. So by this point, I'd broken even, and we had about 20 tickets left. And I was like, what an amazing thing. I've just brought together amazing people. I've sold 80 tickets by this stage. This is the life. This is king. I remember looking at my phone. I was at the football with my mate, and my phone was vibrating in my pocket. And I pick it up, and I had a sale on there. And my mind was like, how is this possible? I'm at the football with my mate, and money's coming into my bank account. This is crazy. The internet is amazing. And from there, it basically, we're able to sell that event out. And it really was a cocktail of perfect timing, a really great product. No one else was doing it at the time. It was well organized. I leveraged my skill set from building major events with the previous company that I was working with. And it was really one of those moments where everything was just in alignment. I did everything right, put in a lot of hard work and a lot of hours and confusion along the way. But it really started to make sense. And that was probably the first big moment of personal, professional, and my own breakthroughs, to be this stuff actually works. And then from there, that was nearly 3 years ago, and it's been a roller coaster. 7,000 revs per minute of an 8,000 revs per minute car, basically the entire time. So
yeah, wow, that is actually a really incredible story. And it reminds me of a post I actually put up yesterday, where I said running a business or running anything without any marketing is like winking at a guy or a girl in a bar in the dark. You know what you're doing, but nobody else does. And it sort of seems like the idea of having a funnel. I think it's amazing that you went from being taught how to use a funnel to then implementing straight away. That's fantastic. I congratulate you for that. But what was the key insight in terms of marketing that you got in that one? Because for me, it's attention. Like once you get attention, that's the game. But for you, when you learned about funnels, what was that thing that I guess switched over and you're like, okay, this is something that's applicable and we need to do it now for this event?
I think it was probably because the switch from a generic sort of page, an information-based page, to direct response and basically direct response copywriting. So instead of being like, hey, we've got this event, we've got all this stuff, like check us out, we're so amazing, we're the best, which in my mind was true. However, in the consumer's mind, they're busy, they've got stuff on, you know, they might not know many or any of the speakers. And, you know, as much as you might have the best product in the world, which I truly believe it was an amazing product and still is. And but that doesn't matter. That's like, that's winking at someone in the dark. So then I really had to learn the basics of, I knew a little bit, but I really had never had such, I didn't have such confidence in my product until this came on. I was like, if anyone's not in this room, they are just bonkers. They don't have, if they know about it and they don't decide to invest in themselves to get inside that room, like, what a mistake. And so for me, as long as I knew the end point and then learned that direct response copywriting and really with just full confidence in the product, go for it. That was probably the main switch for me. And the second part, it's a two-part answer, Tim, I hope you don't mind. But the second part of the answer is the follow-up sequence. And so it basically was just, okay, so if someone doesn't buy straight away, don't stress. Like, then it's the opportunity to go back in and say, hey, did you know what this program can actually do for you? Don't get back to that one. Did you know what you're missing out on? Here's the pain that's currently in your life. Do you want that to get worse? Cool, we can take it away. And the last one that I used in this particular one was, you know, last chance, early bird finishing soon, or whatever sequence I used. And just from that was just those two lessons. If anyone was listening and anyone wants to know the key to selling anything online or to create more value with a product that they have is, I think, direct response. And that's why I just love copywriting so much and I think it's just this amazing skill to have is direct response, copywriting, amazing. Follow-up sequences, amazing. And having a really good product. If you get those three things right, you can go a very long way.
Definitely. I mean, myself, you know, almost completed my marketing degree. I worked full-time 2 years as a business development manager in a sales position. And I've always loved copywriting because copy is just the written expression of sales. And I think a lot of businesses need to understand that, especially in an online forum, there's two methods to it. It's one, providing upfront value, but then second, having the direct response and copy once you've provided the value to get people into your funnel. And the exciting thing and the opportunity that we've had for the last 6 years is the ability to retarget, especially through platforms like Facebook and then your email sequences, as you said, because, you know, people don't buy on their first time. Like even think about when I bought my guitar, for example, I went to 5 different stores before I made the final purchase. And, you know, if that's the 4th store, for example, you know, retargeted me off a geolocation, they probably would have made the sale versus the five stores. So you learned a really powerful thing there and awesome. Amazing that you implemented. Yeah. I guess, because I think that was how I found you. I saw your ad. You're in a bookstore, I think maybe one of the Dimmicks or one of the ones in Australia that's still around. And I guess you've got a really good understanding of how the platforms are working. But what's your opinion of how it's going now? I think I read an article today where Facebook ads are increasing in price, but I personally think Instagram ads is a land grab at the moment. But do you have an opinion of where ad platforms are at the moment?
I'm probably not like the best ad guy. I know how to write copy and I know how to get attention and do that. As far as like the real back end logistics, I mean, I'm much more focused. I think I don't focus so much on the medium because I think that changes. Like, you know, Facebook's around right now and the realities are the pricing may go up, but it really comes back to economics. And so the reason it goes up is because that supply or demand is higher than supply.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's about finding, all you really want to try and do is find out where your customer is, and then get to that. And so if that means, organic social media, and you can reach them, awesome. If that means putting up a Facebook ad and reach them through that, then that's amazing. And everyone's pretty much on Facebook, and a lot of people are on Instagram as well. So that's a really good thing. However, it's also about understanding the psychology of the people that are on those mediums. And that's always changing, right? It's not, I can't give anyone an answer right now that would just be like, "Oh, Hayden, you said do this and it didn't work." Because, well, I don't know, maybe it didn't work. Maybe you didn't have a good offer. Maybe you didn't have, you didn't understand where your customer was or what they want. And so it's probably more so around figuring out. Sorry, phone call company. And so it probably is more of figuring out where your client is, figuring out what they want, and then really not going in for the kill straight away. I'd be more inclined to, as you said before, Tim, like just provide a bit of value up front, start to get to know you, start to get to warm up to your approach, start to learn more about your principles, start to know more about, maybe some of your backstory, and understand you as a person and how you relate to them. Because from their point of view, they go, "Well, does this guy really get me?" That's all they're really asking, is like, does this guy get me and where I am in my life? Because if you can get someone to know where they are in their life, then they're much more receptive to thinking, okay, this person can actually help me. Yeah. And so your job really is to just understand those three things. If you can understand that, then you'd be 99% ahead of most people who just really, I guess, for lack of knowledge or lack of know-how, or they've been taught the wrong way or told the wrong way, is almost just like a shotgun approach and just get out there and see what happens. And, I much more prefer a rifle type approach.
Yeah, and it's something that surprises me a lot is people using these platforms and the content that they're producing is not, think about TV, right? Their content is the ads, not the TV. Right. Yeah. So what people are actually there to be entertained, to find out something new. And if they're coming across content that's just advertising all the time, and I love direct response, and you do as well. It's just about having that mix. But it always fascinates me when you see a poor performing ad on these platforms, because it just means that they're not grasping the full understanding, which is very cool. I want to touch on, so your niche, and I guess you know a lot about a lot of things, but something that I've seen you specialize in was the fitness industry, and your podcast started that way in fitness. And me externally looking in, it's such a flooded market, and it's such it's one of these things where people can go off and do a PT course. So then now you've got people that need clients and need people's, and it can be often hard to, get my voice out there. When you sit down with a personal trainer, what are you telling them to, without giving away everything, but what's your?
I'll give away my brain.
Yeah.
I take the approach of, if you're giving genuine value, you can separate yourself very, very quickly. And so the reason why it seems flooded, and the thing is, any industry that someone's in seems flooded to them. And I will admit that, for a long time, I was purely just in the fitness industry and doing all that. And that's an area that I'm still certainly interested in helping and still super active inside of. But I think that the whole concept of, people get so caught up on this concept of niching, and like, oh, if you don't have your niche and, then you're not going to make it. And in reality, it's, okay, so what problem do people have? And can you solve that problem? And so if that means, and a lot of people say, just starting one industry, but niching doesn't have to be, a lot of people get caught up on niching is industry specific, but there's other areas. Niching could be age specific, it could be gender specific, it could be experience specific or skill set specific. There's not one particular demographic or psychographic that you can go after. There's a whole bunch of different things. And so when I would sit down with an industry professional, whether it be a plumber or whether it be an accountant, or whether it be a physio or a personal trainer, whatever business they're in that they want to help grow, I look at what they're doing now, and then I'll look, and honestly, 99% of the time is it's just simplifying things. And so they're probably doing 100 different things, and their offers are all over the place, and they're not really sure what they're doing. And it really is just about taking like everything that they're shooting out this way and just bringing it back in to a much more pointed thing. So everything builds upon itself. And when you can start to separate yourself like that and actually be there for the client and know what journey they're on and come in as that personal advisor for them. And when I say that, I mean not me doing it, but the person consulting, helping them realize where they sit in that journey and helping the person they're helping understand where they're at. That's when you can really separate yourself. Because Robert Collier, who wrote he's a famous copywriter back in the day, 1930s, he had a really amazing quote that basically says, his quote is around, enter the conversation that the customer's already having in their own head. And the reason why a lot of people can't break through is because they think that the conversation is about, even if the way to get bigger muscles is by taking time, by doing the reps, by, full depth, by, fixing all your incorrect technique, you've got to play the game. Otherwise, you never get the Guernsey. You've got to play the game to a point. I'm not saying go out there and lie. I'm not saying go out there and be overly hypey, because those days are done. Maybe in the American market you can do it, but if you're in Australia, people like straight up.
Yeah.
And so, but it is about playing the game. And that was a big lesson for me over my years. Is you can be the most honest and authentic person, which is great. However, you do need to paint yourself in the best light. So anyone watching that believes they're super authentic and they're sick of all the lies and the BS, that's great. However, play the game to a certain extent and highlight your benefits and highlight what it's actually going to do with that person. Go to your journal, which I carry with me everywhere. I call it the $5 psychologist. Go to your journal and write out 100 benefits of your service. Just doing that and internalizing that is going to give you more than enough content, more than enough confidence in what you're doing. And then you can get out there and actually do it. And you'll know, okay, so what is this person going through? Another great, because I like to get sometimes a little bit tactical, Tim. Another really great tactic that someone might like to try is a lot of people, especially when they're first starting, they wait for the opportunity to work with someone before they start brainstorming and thinking about what they could do. Have a look around you and go, you know what? If I got my hands on that person, what are some of the things that I would start doing? I had a conversation with Charles Poliquin, who passed away late last year, and he was world-renowned, one of the best, known as the world's best strength coach. Light years ahead of his time. And one of the things that he said to me was, it was amazing. He said, if only I got my hands on Usain Bolt, I'd help set a world record that no one could ever touch. And so when you mix and combine the world's fastest man that's ever lived with the world's greatest strength coach, who can combine, who can, knows, this is something that Charles would do. He'd look at him, look at his dimensions, look at, okay, so his hamstrings maybe aren't firing as quickly as I could. Maybe I could get him to do these reps, these sets. I work over this period of time. He's too tight here, and his mind's going off. He's starting to think about and formulate what he would do when he gets to the situation where someone from Usain Bolt's team reaches out and says, hey, we'd love you to help Charles. Or he reaches out to them and say, hey, I'd love to help and build an amazing time. Little things like that. Start looking at the people that are around you and don't wait for them to approach you, or don't wait for them to come to you and go, hey, can you help me with what I'm going through? You can get started at least on some of the fundamentals, and this will help shift your mindset into a problem-seeking mindset where you start to look for problems to solve. And you go, you know what, like, if I was able to work with that person, here's exactly what I would do. So if I was able to work with that person, here's the first 3 or 4 different things I would do. And start to build what I'd call a roadmap of the 3 to 5 or 10 different things in order. Cool, if I could work with this person, here's some of the things that I would do with them. If you can get into that mindset, then when it starts to come about, or you meet someone in a parallel way that also needs that help, then you can get out there and actually be like, cool, I'm ready, I'm prepared. When do you want to sit down? Here's some of the things that I can definitely, here's some of the things that I would help you with.
Yeah, that's amazing. The preparation, I think, is important, and a lot of people will plan and plan and plan and plan without actually knowing. Okay, well, when I land this client or I land this person, I know what I'm gonna do. Then they're like, crap. Now they'll have an initial consultation, and then it'll be like, okay, well, let me get back to you, and I'll tell you what actually to do. But if you've got systems, processes, plans, and tactics already to go, I think you're in a much better position for that there.
Yeah.
That's an awesome tactic, and I think that's a really cool place to end it on as well, because that would give someone something to go away with, because that tip, go and practically use it. Anyone that's listening or watching, definitely do that. But Hayden, my last question therefore would be, if anyone's heard anything in here that they then want to reach out to you and connect with you. I know you have a really valuable email blast going out, but where can people find you? What are the locations? Your Facebook, Instagram, that kind of thing.
Honestly, the best place would be either haydenwritesstuff.com
Yep.
Or on Instagram at haydenwritesstuff, HAYDEN. You'll be able to find me on there. And if anyone's listening and wants to connect and needs a bit of help or needs a bit of a kickstart, or just got something from this, then certainly reach out and reach out to Tim or reach out to myself and let us know your thoughts. It'd be absolutely amazing. So thank you for listening, and thank you, Tim, for an amazing interview.
All right, there you go, episode 10. Thanks again to Hayden. What I'd love you guys to do now is jump over to our Instagram at Bean Talking and flick us a follow or a message. Would be really keen to see how you guys are finding this. Give us a message, and apart from that, I'll see you in episode 11.